World War II ended several decades ago. However, time has preserved a great many secrets. Some of them may never be solved. Answers to others will emerge only years or even decades later. Here are just a few truly astonishing stories from World War II. Operation Catapult. In early May 1940, the Phony War, the period following Nazi Germany's Polish campaign, when France and Great Britain had declared war on Germany, but no actual fighting took place, came to an end. On the 10th of May, hostilities finally began, though not where the French had expected. The front collapsed. German forces advanced rapidly toward Paris, and when Churchill arrived in the French capital on the 10th of May 1940, he found the French General Staff in panic and the city filled with the stench of burning documents. After France's fall and capitulation in June, the British Empire stood alone against Germany. The United States and the USSR had not yet entered the war on Britain's side, and the Japanese were fighting China. France signed a peace treaty with Germany and agreed to pay reparations. It was at this moment that Churchill delivered one of his most famous speeches, "We shall fight on the beaches," declaring his determination to fight to the very end. The most immediate threat at that time was the French fleet, which might fall into German hands. It was necessary to eliminate this danger by either capturing or sinking the fleet of a former ally. This operation was named Catapult, arguably one of the most controversial in the history of the Royal Navy. There were no problems with the ships stationed in British ports. Boarding parties seized French vessels in Portsmouth and Plymouth, as well as in Alexandria and Dakar. However, the greatest danger lay with the French squadron based at Mers el-Kabir, near the Algerian port of Oran. This base housed the main French forces in the Mediterranean: 4 battleships, 2 of a newer type and 2 older ones, 6 leaders, numerous destroyers, and submarines. The French forces were commanded by Admiral Gensau, while the British were led by Admiral Somerville. The two admirals had known each other for a long time. The British admiral delivered an ultimatum to the French squadron, demanding surrender. The French refused. After waiting even longer than the deadline allowed, the British launched an attack, destroying most of the squadron of their former allies and killing more than 1,000 French sailors. At a moment when the world community was ready to write Britain off, the country managed to demonstrate its resolve to fight to the very end, no matter the cost. The subsequent Battle of Britain only strengthened the United States and the USSR's perception of this determination and laid the foundation for the alliance of the three powers, a paradoxical yet effective partnership. Dunkirk. Dunkirk is one of the most extraordinary episodes of the first half of World War II. In late May, when the French front collapsed and German forces, having already seized the Netherlands and Belgium, were racing toward Paris, the British Expeditionary Force found itself on the brink of total annihilation. This would very likely have led to Britain's defeat. What followed was the retreat to Dunkirk. British troops had to reach the English Channel in order to evacuate from France. On the 21st of May 1940, the British launched a counterattack against German forces near Arras. Though the assault was repulsed, the Germans were forced to pull back several kilometers. The Wehrmacht still had sufficient strength to continue pursuing the enemy. Then came what German General Guderian later described as Hitler's fateful mistake. On that day, the Supreme Command intervened in the operation with disastrous consequences for the entire course of the war. Hitler halted the left wing of the German army at the AA River. Crossing the river was forbidden. No reason was given to us. The order from the Supreme Command read, "Leave Dunkirk to the Air Force. If capturing Calais proves difficult, leave that city to the Air Force as well." I am recalling the order from memory. We were speechless. Yet we could hardly defy the order without knowing the reasons behind it. Thus, the panzer divisions received the following command: hold the English Channel coast. Used a pause in operations to repair vehicles. Whether Hitler was trying to signal to the British that he was open to peace negotiations, or whether this decision stemmed from uncertainty about his own forces, remains unclear to this day. What is certain, however, is that the evacuation of the British Army, Operation Dynamo, which mobilized not only the Royal Navy, but literally every vessel in southern England, from pleasure boats to fishing smacks, saved Britain. It saved not just the soldiers, but the army as an institution, experienced career officers and battle-hardened troops. This force became the foundation of the new army that Britain built during the war, the same army that, together with American forces, later landed in Italy and France. The Kiev Defensive Operation and the Battle for Moscow. In the very first weeks after Nazi Germany's invasion of the Soviet Union, it became clear Kiev was in serious danger. By July, Hitler had revised his plans. He ordered the Wehrmacht to capture Crimea, the Donbas region, and Leningrad before winter began. Army Group South was tasked with destroying Soviet forces and, above all, capturing Kiev. By mid-August, German troops had reached the Dnieper River. But taking Kiev immediately proved impossible. Soviet soldiers fought fiercely for every street. The chief of the German General Staff, Franz Halder, proposed a different plan. He urged Hitler to make Moscow the main target, to send the best German divisions toward the Soviet capital. Kyiv, he argued, was secondary. Moscow was the political and logistical heart of the country, far more valuable strategically. But Hitler disagreed. He insisted that Kyiv and southern Ukraine must be taken before the winter cold. And to achieve that, he ordered General Heinz Guderian's 2nd Panzer Group, which was already advancing on Moscow, to turn south toward Kyiv. Guderian was far from enthusiastic. He personally went to Hitler's headquarters, trying to explain that this decision was a grave mistake. In his memoirs, he later recalled, "I tried to explain to Hitler that once we achieved success on the decisive front and defeated the enemy's main forces, it would be far easier to seize Ukraine's economically important regions. Capturing Moscow, the key transportation hub, would make it extremely difficult for the Russians to move troops from north to south." I also reminded him that our forces in Army Group Center were fully prepared to attack Moscow, whereas the new operation toward Kyiv would require a massive redeployment to the southwest, losing precious time. And afterward, our tanks would have to cover the same distance again, heading back toward Moscow. But Hitler wouldn't listen. He told Guderian that he understood nothing about military economics, and the general had no choice but to follow orders. By the end of August, German troops crossed the Dnieper. On September 7th, they reached the city of Konotop. After weeks of heavy fighting, on September 19, 1941, Soviet forces were forced to abandon Kyiv. Attempts to recapture the city failed. More than 600,000 Soviet soldiers were taken prisoner. Within the next month, the Germans captured Odessa, the Donbass, Kharkiv, and Crimea. Yet, this victory came at a price. Most modern military historians agree with Guderian that Hitler's decision to divert forces south slowed down the advance on Moscow. It weakened the German offensive just as the crucial battle for Moscow was about to begin. Whether Guderian exaggerated his role and resources remains uncertain, but one thing is clear: this decision, at least in part, gave the defenders of Moscow a chance to stand their ground and to change the course of the war.